Hello, everybody. Mike Shredder here from Shred's Takes. I am welcoming back a good buddy of mine, Max Pernetti, senior at Gettysburg. We had him in the summer, so you'll see the video up top here to reference the summer one, which was a great episode. I'm glad to have him back. Max, thanks for joining the podcast again.
Anytime. Always looking forward to catching up with you and talking some hoops. So good stuff.
Absolutely. So, as we talked about this summer, right, you're in a senior year position now. How's it been? How are you enjoying your senior year at Gettysburg? And for those who are putting context, you guys are what, 10-4 now, right? And
9-4, yeah,
nine
nine,
and four, excuse me.
five
So,
and one in our
they're
league.
having a good season. But just talk about your senior year overall and how that's been.
Yeah, there's definitely a different sense of urgency from a personal standpoint on the floor. Just knowing, like I was on the bench yesterday at one point, or like going into the second half, and one of my other fellow senior captains kind of tapped me on the shoulder and was like, This is your last year, right?" Like it kind of just reminds me, like, remember how to treat that stuff and remember how important it is stepping out on the floor every time because the time is really ticking. So, I mean, I think we have a really good feel for where we're at and like what we can do going forward. We're on a 2 game win streak now, starting back up conference play after the new year. So, this is a really special group. We feel really good and really confident going in, and just for it to be my last year, I feel really excited going into conference play, continuing to go here. Hopefully keep a streak up and just keep playing good basketball like we've been playing for the last couple months. So
Talk a little about leadership, right? We talked about this extensively over the summer, and I think it's something that you really value. And it comes in different ways. And I at least watching a little bit of the game last night, I could definitely see it from a vocal standpoint when you were encouraging the guys to start the half. And just talk about that, because I also know that you've done some stuff where they've done little social media bits kind of showing you from a vocal standpoint. Just talk about that as we just for those who maybe didn't watch the episode over the summer, just the importance of leadership for you and how you try to translate it to your senior year.
yeah, so going into the season this year, like right when we talked in the beginning of the year, it was like right when I first got to campus. So we hadn't really done anything as a team yet. We had a couple practices before October 15th, which is a new thing now for NCAA Division III. And actually, at the end of those sessions, I met with our coaching staff and they named me to our leadership team, which was personally for me like a really proud moment, just being upperclassman and like a guy who's always been vocal no matter what class year I'm in. But just when that happened, I was really excited, really proud. I was going to be a vocal guy regardless if I was on that leadership group or not. But just being a guy that young guys can look to, and even guys that are older can look to on the floor to be vocal, echo play calls, and encourage guys when they're not making shots, or to stay in the game when things aren't going their way because they can impact the game in any other way besides scoring too. So, I mean, we have a really talented group, and one of the things that gets in the way of us sometimes can be the mental fortitude piece. So, we got a group of four on our leadership team, and we have two really stellar guards, two of the best guards in the country, in my opinion. And then myself and our other forward who are in the on the leadership group, like we're really vocal. So those guys really do a good job of like we have two guys who lead in a different way, where they lead more so by example, like and how hard they play. Not to say that me and the other kid don't play hard and lead that way. We just are very much more vocal on the side too. So we have like a good balance between four guys who lead by example more and lead by voice more. So that really is a good piece for us. And guys on the team listen and very attentive and they respond well to criticism and adversity. So we're really moving forward in the right direction, and just being able to be in a position like that myself has been something that I'm really proud of, and I'm really trying to do my best to do a really good job at because I take a lot of pride in it. So.
Talk about lessons then you learned from being a leader this season. And you probably may have learned that as a junior, but in a senior role, right, you're going to learn some things about yourself along the way. What do you think you've learned about yourself this year that can help not just translate to the rest of the season? Because obviously, right, from a standpoint, you guys want to win and you guys want to do really well. But just as you've talked about moving forward, is there things you've learned this season that maybe you didn't know about yourself beforehand, or is everything kind of what you expected and learned about yourself from previous experiences and you're just growing through that along the way?
Yeah, so from a personal standpoint, I would say like I figured a little bit of the same stuff that I already knew, but in a different way. Like we had a little bit of we had a good start to the season, but we like there was a couple of games that we dropped that we knew we could have won. And like the thing with me is like I got to show up with the same attitude every day, like a positive attitude. And when things aren't going well in the game, I got to keep my energy up and be vocal still because you don't really realize it sometimes, but like guys on the team are looking at you to lead and to keep everybody up in times of adversity and times where things are a little bit more difficult. So like when we did drop a couple of games earlier in the year, it's like showing up the next day and having good energy and like being able to move forward, watch clips of the game and move on from it and learn from mistakes. But like to always keep guys and hold guys accountable, which I've done. But I think that just thinking about how personally I've learned a little bit more about myself is just because like I didn't really realize that as much in the beginning, but especially with the younger guys, like they're looking at myself and the other three guys on our leadership group when things are going a little bit differently. So like can't have any bad body language. I can't show up and not have good energy, like because of something that's personal going on. And I think that one of the things for me that I did like I really think about a lot and I do really well with is like when I step in between the lines, like everything else that's going on doesn't really matter. Like basketball has been a thing where I can just kind of let my mind go free. I focus on being a really good leader and being a really good teammate and being coachable when I'm on the floor. So when things aren't going our way, guys can look at me and hopefully try to replicate that. So we have 19 guys all pulling in the same direction. And then when we're in a groove like we are right now, we're hitting it a little bit. Like we're having a lot of fun. Like we're playing hard and we're having fun in practice, but we're still really locked in and really competitive. So I think that it's just like a matter of like we don't ride the wave, like we just stay steady, we try to stay positive, we stay ready to move and adjust to anything that comes our way because there's going to be win streaks, there's going to be lulls, and it's kind of just everything that comes with the basketball season, like you lived it. So I think anybody that's listening to that like has played college sports or anything like that can understand.
100%. And talk about just positivity within yourself for transitioning into a further career. As we talked about, it might be within the sports realm, and you're still trying. I think that's where you're going. I know you're like a business major at Gettysburg, but talk about just kind of being positive yourself and that type of aspect when you're going through things because sports is a great metaphor for how life is going to be because there's so many ups and downs within a basketball season, even
Right.
if you're doing well, even if you have a lot of wins. So talk about like the idea of staying positive as you go through in the future endeavors you're trying to encapsulate in.
Yeah, I think that's a great point too. Because like you think about like your sports career or a season, like so much of that stuff like translates to the real world and like just becoming a man. So when you think about that stuff, like sports, it's not easy. Like it's kind of it's really a tough world to kind of just crack into. Like you don't just walk in and like have everything handed to you immediately. Like I think you definitely have to stay positive. And like the other thing with positivity, like you got to be confident too. Like you got to be able to step in a room and be like I'm the best at what I do, and I know all this stuff, and I'm gonna be like all this stuff that I know, I'm gonna be special at, and I'm gonna show people that there's something that they should be thinking about and make myself memorable too. So like you have to be confident in your abilities and like stick to what you're good at, just like the same way you're on the floor. Like I know that my role is like I'm more of a glue guy, and like there's some things that I'm really good at, and there's some things that are outside my game and my comfort zone, and I just do what I'm good at and stay within my comfort zone, stick to my skills, and if everybody on the floor is doing it at the same time too, like you're going to be successful, and then that way, like when you enter the real world and you're with a team, like you're always with the team. I think the thing that with sports is like whether it's the real world or your family, like your family is a team. There's teams everywhere, so when you think about it that way and having a sport experience, whether it's college or whatever level it is, I think that that's the thing about sports that really teaches you how to work with other people, how to believe in yourself, instill confidence and understand your abilities and not really do anything that is outside your comfort zone, but also be able to adapt and learn to things too. So that's the big thing. I think it's like the positivity because it's not easy. And then also confidence because like you got to know whatever you know, you got to be confident and you're like, I'm the best at this and I'm really good at understanding this. And you have to be able to showcase that to people when you're just cracking into the real world. So,
Talk about what for the development of your role, I think at Gettysburg, right? Because you were a guy who was the glue guy, I would say, your first 2 years, and that's with all the respect in the world because you did a great job at it. But I'm saying the last 2 years, you had to become at Rampo, like we talked about, kind of the man, right? You had to like really take that role. And then you're at Gettysburg, and look, I had to accept this role of being more of a glue guy myself. And it's a tough thing to maybe at first deal with, but for some people it's an easier transition than it is for others. For you and as a leader, how important is figuring out what your role is and being content with that role for the betterment of the team? Because a lot of people don't really get that and they
yeah.
I think struggle with that. So talk about that because everyone's valuable on a team, regardless of what role you have. So talk about that and accepting your role and being happy that maybe not happy, but content with it, knowing that it's going to lead to future success.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think the quicker you understand your role, like whether you are 1 through 19, wherever you stand, is what makes the team successful. Like we've had really good scouts the past couple of weeks, specifically. We've always have, but specifically we've had really good scouts the past couple of weeks, and that like makes us the most prepared for every game. So those guys like that don't really get crack at much minutes in like the real games that are giving us the best look that they can in practice. Like they're preparing us as much as we are playing so hard in the game and we're making it happen in the game. But like that stuff doesn't come without great preparation. Like we had a road game last weekend at Swarthmore, and we prepared for them for a whole week because we didn't have any games in the middle of the week or anything like that. So like our scout guys were getting after it, giving us a great look. And the guys that buy into that role when they're on the scout team and give us their best and give us a good look, like they don't realize it at the time, maybe, but at the end of the day, like when we get a 23-point win on the road at Swarthmore, as a team who's been in the conference championship for the past like 6 years, like that all has part to do with them. And like we have guys who are scoring 15, 14, 13 points a game. And then we also have guys who are going in there and getting a ton of rebounds. Like you got to just know your role. And like the thing for me is too, like it's tough, especially like my freshman year when you come and you have everybody, like everybody comes from high school and they're like, they were either the guy or like the all state, all county, all league, all this stuff. You got to leave your ego at the door because like everybody's good at certain things and some guys are better than others. And you just got to know what you're good at, stick to that, and not get outside of your game because there's guys that can fill the spots in areas that you can't fill. Like you can't really think that you got to do. Like for me, I'm averaging like around 4 points a game right now. Go in there and like I'll get my looks if I come my way, but I'm really just trying to keep the offense moving, be a facilitator, be a great defender, and run the offense through and be in the right spots at all the times, and just also be a vocal guy on the floor we already talked about. So like the quicker you can buy into your role wherever you are, I think that just advances the team. That's why we're feeling so good right now because we have a lot of guys who are really bought into their role from 1 through 19. So
Yeah, I think one thing that I found interesting in that is just you put like I like the quote you have to put your ego at the door because it for me that was like a huge transition. I know when I went to college was I was the guy who was relied upon to get the post buckets. And then I go to college. This is the year that we were, NESCAC champion Sweet 16 team, going against three or four big guys who were better than me from a physical standpoint, more athletic. And I had to figure out how I get better, first of all, but also like what the role is. And then I think I was going to ask you, what did you, at least being at Rampo, because you guys were such a close knit team and had great chemistry. Do you think that helped at all when you went to Gettysburg, or do you think that you kind of just developed that just from maturity and understanding what the college game is about?
yeah, I think in specific years at Rampo, like we had a great roster of guys who were focused on the common goal. And I think that when you get to college, like everybody is all in it for the common goal. Because like when you're in high school, like you have guys who play multiple sports, and like winter comes around, it's like, oh, it's basketball season. But like, I mean, for me, I always just played basketball in the winter. So like I played other sports when I was younger, and I kind of just gave them up when I was getting into high school. Like I played football, and like all fall I ended up playing basketball instead, just so I can like refine those skills, and like ended up resulting in me being able to play varsity fall league games as a freshman. And because of that sacrifice, I was able to just be playing basketball, and I was always just so focused on basketball. We had so many basketball players one year, and like we're all focused on that common goal, and we made it happen. Like we at the time set the record for most wins in our school history and made it further than we've had in 23 years. So when you get here though, like everybody's we talk about like what we want to do and what we want to accomplish as a team, everybody from a personal standpoint, when we get here, we talk about a lot of guys all bring up the Centennial Conference Championship, which has been a goal we've been aspiring to accomplish ever since I've gotten here. And I'm sure guys that were here before that have all been aspiring for it too. And like everybody's been saying like, oh, I want to win the conference championship. So you know that you have that common goal in mind. And everybody's doing this. Everybody's here because they want to play basketball, they want to win, and they want to get a great education. So at the end of the day, like, we're all pulling for that stuff, and we're cheering each other and we're celebrating each other's victories personally too, like on and off the floor. It just becomes like a really close knit group. and like winning obviously is super fun and creates great energy. So when we keep doing that and we get on a roll, like there's really nothing that could stop us because we're all so close. So we all have the same thing in mind, which is winning a conference title and playing in the NCAA tournament. So
Yeah, and obviously that's the goal you should be having, right? If you don't have that competitive mindset, it's tough to play at the college level, regardless of what level it is. One thing I found interesting though is just like you talk about the idea of like having a good education, right? And like getting a good education. Gettysburg obviously is a terrific school. Talk about just I don't know if actually asked you this in depth, but just the reason maybe that you found such an interest in the business major and like how you've enjoyed just that major because the idea of business goes so well with so many different things. I'm learning that at Columbia myself, and I don't know if I asked you this in depth, but just the idea of learning business at Gettysburg and maybe just the knowledge you had in the past and like how you feel that can help translate to your future endeavors.
yeah. So, I mean, my interest has always been in sports business because of my dad's background and like the way I grew up. I was always around college sports and just like the sports business world. Learned a lot of things, but like here, it made just so much sense for me to be doing the business major. Um, the professors here really do a good job of like learning your personal interests. And I think that like the thing that you probably understand too is like at a liberal arts like smaller institution, like professors want to get to know you a little bit more from a personal standpoint, which is great. And like the smaller class sizes makes it more of like an intimate class experience. And like a lot of professors I've met with individually, like ask about my career aspirations, and business major here is like very broad. Like you learn things from marketing, finance, and then you learn some stuff about like organizations and structure and things like that too. So you're learning a bunch of different things. It's not really more so focused on one thing that you want to learn more. Like you're kind of getting a taste of everything. But like specific professors that understand your career aspirations are here to help you with connections, internships, and I'm actually doing an independent study this coming spring about NIL. And I'm really excited about that because it's a professor that I've known for a really long time who's my advisor.
That's
And
awesome.
that's really, yeah, it's going to be a great experience. And the stuff that I've worked on this past summer at my internship, it's things that I'm interested in and trying to understand a little bit more. And I think that like that being able to do that in my last semester of college is pretty great because it's a relationship that I made here in my department for I've known him since my freshman year. So I've known him for 4 years, and like he really wants to help me out as much as he can. So I think that that is
That's
just really,
terrific.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Absolutely. I mean, sorry for interrupting, but that's awesome. I mean, the fact that you're doing an independent study on NIL with how big that thing is now. I mean, I remember just when it emerged, obviously, no one really knew what the heck was going on. And
Yeah,
I don't think people still really know what the heck is
yeah,
going on.
yeah.
But I
That's the
think
point.
it's such a cool thing to just study and learn because it's now taking over college sports. But I want to end off with this, which is outside of basketball, outside of the academic lens. How does it just feel just to again just be enjoying senior year, being a senior? What are I know you still have a couple months away from when you think that, but I know I was already like in a sense the mindset of like I was really trying to live and enjoy each moment that I could because senior year is just it does come by fast. So have you felt that in a sense? Like it's even flown by fast? And how have you just enjoyed being a senior and being a senior at Gettysburg?
Yeah, I try to practice a lot of like personal reflection, think about like how it's gone the past couple of years. Like when I got through high school and into college, like it was during COVID, which was a crazy time, and how that feels so far in the past now. But like how much I've grown and how much I've changed since that. Like thinking about like what I knew, what I didn't know, what I learned playing basketball, like how I've grown as a player and a person and the people I've met. So I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like I think about it, it pops in my head like random times. It did in the fall, it like still is right now. Like when I'm in like certain gyms when we play on the road, I'm like, this is probably like the last time I'm ever going to play here and thinking about that. And it doesn't really pop in my head all the time, but like when it does, I really try to like look around and take everything in. It is pretty crazy to think that um in a couple of months I'll be graduating from here. But I mean, I really love my teammates, I love my friends and my coaches and people are all here. And when I committed here, I knew exactly what I was doing and why I wanted to come here. And it's been everything that I hoped it was and everything I was told it was going to be. So I'm really like lucky and I mean, it's just been a great experience. So hopefully we can continue to go hard here and the rest of the season and go after the goal that I came here for, which is to win a conference title. So that's really all I like. The only reason I wanted to come here because like Coach Down and Coach Elbert gave the vision of we're going to win a conference championship and go play in a NCAA tournament, and it's right in front of us right now. But if we're consistent, we're going to be able to get it done. So we just got to be consistent.
And that's all it's about, right? Consistency, belief, all that different stuff, right? And it's not just with just a basketball team mindset. If you have that throughout your life, as we've talked about extensively, things are going to happen for you. But I always enjoy these conversations. Again, I'm excited to hopefully be able to see you more once you're graduated, because in person. But it's always good to have these chats, because I always think I learn a lot just kind of from like a different mindset. Because look, you and I've been around athletes our whole entire life, and I think everyone has a unique kind of perspective on things. Like, this is not just stories, but perspective. And I think that it's always fun to have you on, because you always have a new perspective on something that maybe I didn't think about. So I definitely learned some interesting things just in our, like, 20 to 25-minute chat here. And like I said, I always enjoy having you on the podcast. So I'm glad you made some time to come on Shred Stakes, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. I always love having the conversation too, and appreciate what you said. So always good to catch up and chat with you, man.
Absolutely. So for everybody, Max Pernetti from Gettysburg College, I'm Mike Shredder. You're watching Shred Stakes, and we'll see you again soon.